Attention passionate Cleveland, Browns fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Cleveland Browns fans. Let's get to the news. Alright, Browns fans, buckle up because there's a lot to unpack here, and it all revolves around what's happening right now with the roster moves, the ongoing battles, and the team's outlook for the upcoming season. The Cleveland Browns, as many of you know, have been in the spotlight throughout training camp, especially when it comes to their quarterback situation. Now, it's not just a simple case of picking a starter, it's about the future of the franchise. And right now, Joe Flacco has earned that starting role for Week 1. But don't be fooled into thinking the story ends there. This quarterback competition has been intense, with Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders all making their cases. And while Flacco has the edge now, the team clearly has its eyes on developing potential successors, especially considering the rebuild mindset they seem to be embracing this year. But what's truly interesting is what's happening behind the scenes as the roster cuts approach. By 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, every NFL team has to trim down to their 53-man roster, and Cleveland is no exception. While the Browns have largely sorted out their quarterback situation, they are still making some tough decisions on who stays and who goes across the rest of the roster. This is always a challenging time for any team, especially when you're in a bit of a rebuild like Cleveland. You want to keep the core pieces that give you a chance to compete, but you also have to give opportunities to younger players and evaluate your depth. Recently, we saw the Browns make some significant cuts, releasing 2 veteran defensive backs, cornerback Tony Brown II and safety Nick Needham. Now, for those of you who follow the team closely, you might remember Tony Brown II's journey. He's had stints with the Green Bay Packers, Cincinnati Bengals, and Indianapolis Colts before landing with Cleveland last season. In his 6 games with the Browns, he managed 5 tackles and forced a fumble. Not a huge statistical impact, but enough to show some versatility and experience. Still, with the roster already stacked with talent in the secondary, think Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome II at cornerback, and Grant Delpit and Ronnie Hickman in the safety positions, the team felt they had to make some tough calls. There simply wasn't enough room for Brown anymore, especially with younger players ready to step in. Nick Needham's case is quite similar. He's got an interesting background, having spent 6 seasons with the Miami Dolphins after going undrafted in 2019. Needham made an immediate impact as a rookie, earning a starting role in the Dolphins' secondary. Over the years, he's been a solid contributor, but his role has decreased over time. Cleveland took a chance on him this offseason, hoping he could add depth and experience, but ultimately, he couldn't secure a spot on the final roster. It's a tough pill to swallow for veterans like Brown and Needham, but this is the nature of the NFL. Teams are always looking to optimize, especially when they're preparing for a season that might see some growing pains. Now, it's important to understand that these moves are just the beginning. The Browns, front office, and coaching staff still have a lot of work ahead. They're constantly evaluating, reevaluating, and making decisions about who fits the team's long-term vision. Given the current roster composition, Cleveland is likely to continue trimming and possibly making some additions from players released by other teams. This is a process that can sometimes surprise fans, as the NFL's free agency and waiver wire system can open doors for players to find new homes, especially veterans looking for a fresh start or young guys eager to prove themselves. What's also interesting about Cleveland's approach this year is how they're balancing the development of their young talent with the need for experienced players. While the roster is still being finalized, it's clear that the team is focusing on building a foundation for the future. The quarterback spot is a prime example. The hope is that either Pickett, Gabriel, or Sanders will emerge as the franchise's next leader under center. If none of them can step up, the Browns are prepared to pursue a top quarterback prospect in the 2026 NFL Draft. This strategic patience indicates that Cleveland is ready to endure a transitional phase possibly even a rebuild, to set themselves up for future success. But let's not forget about the defensive backfield, which has been a bright spot for the Browns. Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome II form a formidable duo at cornerback, providing the team with solid coverage and leadership in the secondary. On the safety side, Grant Delpit and Ronnie Hickman are young, talented players with considerable upside. This core gives Cleveland a lot of confidence in their pass defense, which has historically been a strength for them. However, the recent releases of Brown and Needham highlight the ongoing depth evaluation and the team's desire to keep their roster lean and competitive. Now, what does all this mean for the Browns heading into the season? Well, the moves signal that Cleveland is in a strategic phase of roster optimization. They're giving themselves options, trying to find the right chemistry, and aiming to enter the season with a roster that can compete, but also has room for growth. This is especially crucial because the AFC North has become more competitive than ever. Teams like the Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens are loaded with talent and are eager to reclaim their dominance. Cleveland knows that if they want to make a serious playoff push, they need to be smart about their roster, making the right cuts now and keeping an eye out for hidden gems on the waiver wire. And speaking of the AFC North, the division landscape this year looks different. The Bengals still have their explosive offense led by Joe Burrow, and the Ravens have retooled their defense and offense to be even more formidable. The Browns, in turn, are betting on their defensive line, led by Myles Garrett, to anchor their defense, while hoping their new offensive line can provide the protection necessary for their young quarterbacks to thrive. The goal, as always, is to build a balanced team that can compete on all fronts. But with the roster decisions still ongoing, it's clear that Cleveland is willing to be flexible, making the tough choices now to position themselves better for the future. It's also worth noting that the Browns' organizational philosophy appears to be centered around patience and careful planning. They're not rushing to fill every spot immediately, but are instead focused on long-term stability. This approach might frustrate some fans eager for immediate results, but it's a strategy rooted in building a sustainable winning culture. Cleveland has seen its fair share of highs and lows in recent years, and this season feels like another chapter in that ongoing story. The team is trying to find that perfect balance between veteran experience and youthful energy, between immediate competitiveness and future potential. As we look ahead, the Browns' focus will undoubtedly be on developing their young players, especially at the quarterback position, and creating a cohesive unit that can execute their game plan effectively. The defense, with its core of Ward, Newsome, Delpit, and Hickman, looks promising, but they'll also need to remain healthy and consistent throughout the season. Offensively, the offensive line's ability to protect Flacco or whoever ends up under center will be crucial, as will the emergence of any of the young receivers or running backs that might step up when it matters most. In the broader scope, Cleveland's recent roster moves, including releasing veterans like Brown and Needham, are tactical decisions that reflect a team in transition. They're trying to optimize their depth, make room for potential breakout players, and prepare for a season that could be pivotal for their franchise's future. The AFC North is not waiting for anyone, and Cleveland knows that they need to be ready to face their rivals head-on with a roster that's both competitive and adaptable. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all these roster moves? Do you believe that releasing veterans like Tony Brown II and Nick Needham was the right call? Are you optimistic about the quarterback battle and the team's overall rebuild strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. This season is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable and exciting in recent memory, and your passion is what keeps the spirit of Browns Nation alive. We're all in this together, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. Thanks for being with me, and as always, go Browns.